You cannot always tell what keeps you confined, what immerses you, what seems to bury you, and yet you can feel those elusive bars, railings, walls. Is this all illusion? Imagination? I don't think so. And then one asks, my God, will it be for long? Will it be forever? Will it be for eternity? Do you know what makes the prison disappear? Every deep, genuine affection, being friends, being brothers, loving, that is what opens the prison, with supreme power by some magic force. Without these one stays dead. But wherever affection is revived, there life revives. In July of 1880, Vincent van Gogh wrote these words to his brother Theo. This letter is one of many where he writes to his brother Theo and says, I'm sorry for being such a loser, for being such a freak, for giving up my steady career as a priest. I'm a horrible older brother. He's clearly in a prison of his own making mentally. Do you want to know what else makes the prison disappear? Being gay. Part 1, the prison. The plot of Revolutionary Girl Utna is really confusing. I mean, confusing stuff does— oh, my soda! The plot of Utna is— it's not really confusing, it's just, like, complicated. And so in order to explain one thing, you have to explain everything. As a child, Utna Tenju was given a rose-engraved signet ring by a traveling prince who promised her that they would one day meet again. Inspired by the encounter, Utna vowed to become a prince herself one day. Years later, a teenage Utna is a student at Ohtori Academy, an exclusive boarding school. She finds herself drawn to a sword-dueling tournament with the school's student council, whose members wear signet rings identical to her own. The duelists compete to win the hand of Anthony Hemenia, a mysterious student known as the Rose Bride, who is said to possess the power to revolutionize the world. Utna emerges victorious in her first duel, obligated to defend her position as the Rose Bride's fiancé. She decides to remain in the tournament to protect Anthe from those who seek the power of the Rose Bride themselves. Utna is known for its fantastical elements, its very heavy themes. I cannot overemphasize, if you're interested in watching the show, spoilers for this show, by the way, you need to read the trigger list. It's a crazy show. Insane musical lyrics. And its symbolisms. This is the show with the car scene. The car scene. I'm a car now too. It's also known for being gay as hell. We all watched Steven Universe. We all know the references. We've all seen that one anime comparison video of the Utna shots in Steven Universe. All of the characters in this show are like a mirror symmetry of the plot. They all have these weird, insane, really fucked up little lives. They don't really recognize the problems that they're facing, the true problems that they're facing, so they just project these like unhealthy desires onto other people, and that's just no good. Like, I think this show is really famous for a toxic Yuri shit, which is just this one girl, Yuri. She's like, you know, secretive and she's obsessive and she's like, I have this locket where I keep a picture of my one true love. And then her one true love turns out to be this girl who is just dating as many boys as she can to make Yuri jealous. So all of these terms that I kind of threw at you, there's the power to revolutionize the world, there's the Rose Bride, there's the power of Dios, which is like this sword that Utna can pull out of Anthe's chest because gay. These are all like fantastical elements of the academy and of this world that they're in. But the reality is that this world they're living in is a prison. It's all an illusion. There's actually one point where the big bad character explains that literally all of the duels are just illusions that he's been projecting. This castle in the sky that has been promised as a place that holds something eternal and is some place where you can go happily ever after with the Rose Bride. It's just him projecting lights onto the ceiling. This fantasy all hides a real horror. The truth about what is happening. Anthe's brother Akio, the vice principal of the school, the prince Utna has been looking for, is abusing Anthe and grooming literally every student. According to Anthe, Akio, her brother, was once this guy named Dios, a prince, but he's like lost his nobility and he's been trying to return to that princehood he once had. He hopes to once he obtains the power to revolutionize the world hidden behind the Rose Gate, which appears at the final duel. Part 2, something eternal. Okay, so something they kind of keep from you in a lot of the show is the truth about what happened to Utna as a child. Like, we see that her parents have died and it's shown to us at the beginning of almost every single episode as this little storybook fairy tale. What we find out has really been happening is Utna's parents have died. The prince comes comes up to her and she's convinced this is the angel of death has come. She says, I want to see something eternal. I want to see something forever. Of course she does. Her parents just died. She has nothing left. Dios shows her a witch, the Rose Bride, who sacrificed herself to the swords of humanity's hatred to save Dios, and all that's left of her is her suffering. The only thing that can save her is a prince that she believes in. Upset that Dios is a prince but cannot save Anthe, she vows to become a prince herself. The entire series we've kind of gone, oh, she just wasn't interested in the prince and wanted to become a prince herself. That's so girl boss of her. But like, what's really going on is she's in the pits of despair and she says, I want something eternal, please. Give me something that I can believe in. What she sees is another little girl who's in pain and abused, and she goes, I need to save you. Something she's been told repeatedly throughout the series, and again here, is you're a girl, so you can't be a prince. And we hear it in that repeated dialogue at the beginning. She decided to become a prince herself. Was that really such a good idea? I first saw the show, I'm like, yes, let her be gay. Let her be a prince if she wants to be a prince. Let her wear the boy's uniform, even though it's clearly not the boy's uniform because the boy's uniform is green and her uniform is black. But what we learn throughout the show is that princehood is this archetype that is just perpetuated stereotypes. When Utena acts like a prince in the show, she's kind of self-righteous. Like, all of the prince characters are really self-righteous. And whenever she's trying to save Anthe, she's not really helping her. Like, the reason she gets into the duels is because she sees Anthe being slapped around by what she presumes is her boyfriend, and she gets in the middle of it and says, like, you shouldn't slap your girlfriend. And she learns about the Rose Bride and the engagements. She wins the duel, so the douchebag that's been hitting her is no longer her fiance, but now she's engaged to the Rose Bride. She's just taking the place of the abuser, like the power figure in the story, and Anthe is forced to play this role of helplessness. She is the most powerful character in the show, but she consistently puts herself in a place where she will get hurt because she believes she deserves it inherently. Part 3, the power to revolutionize the world. So the end of the show. Utena is called to the dueling arena to meet the prince from her past. She discovers the prince is Accio, and that he intends to use her and Anthe to gain the power of eternity for himself. In this final duel, humanity's swords of hatred come out, and Anthe takes the impact of the swords in the place of the prince. Accio attempts and fails to open the sealed gate that holds the power. A gravely injured Utena pries the gate open, where she discovers Anthe inside. Utena reaches out to her, and they briefly join hands as the dueling arena crumbles around them. Utena vanishes from Ohtori Academy. Everyone begins to forget her existence except for Accio and Anthe. Accio comments that Utena failed to bring about a revolution, and that he intends to begin a new attempt to attain the power of eternity. Anthe responds that Utena has merely left Ohtori Academy, and that she intends to do the same. Anthe solemnly swears to find Utena and departs from Accio and the school. So, the ending of this story. What is the power to revolutionize the world? Like, what does that mean? To bring the world to a revolution? To cause the end of the world? Accio is sometimes referred to as the end of the world. Is it trying to bring the world to a revolt? For Accio, he has lived this all before. It's a literal revolution of the world. It's like, it's a revolution. The cycle is just starting again for him. The duels will start again, he'll find a new champion. There's this very famous text post I want to quote. Your concept of revolution is just a childish carousel spinning around and going nowhere. You sit on your plastic white horse and play prince while the world around you shivers in agony. I love that quote. Also leftist infighting. So what happens at the end of the show? What is the power to bring revolution to the world really gonna mean for our main characters? Utena doesn't save Anthe. She doesn't become a prince. That's like her last words is like, I guess I couldn't really become a prince after all. But what does happen is she really comes to terms with how much she loves Anthe. She wants Anthe to be free of the pain that she's in. The entire show is up on YouTube. The comments underneath every single episode are so worth it. One of my favorite pastimes is just opening up my favorite episode of Utena, not even watching it, and just reading the comments below, because people write paragraph-long dissertations on what's going on in each episode. And like, there's so much that I've left out. I just feel like I'm gonna get rambly. I'm gonna attempt to explain it really succinctly right now. Utena and Anthe have this whole disagreement. Accio shows up in like the last act of the show. Anthe's getting like abused really badly. Accio is just grooming every minor he can see in sight, especially Utena. Utena, she doesn't have any guardian figures in her life, so she's viewing this as this is her first boyfriend, even though he's in his 20s. You know, she's desperately looking for a prince, and she just does not connect dots that these two guys with purple hair are maybe the same person. And then she finds out that Accio and Anthe are She doesn't really know how to handle it. In her eyes, what she's seeing is her friend cheating on her with her boyfriend. She's like unable to comprehend what is really going on. It's like she can comprehend it. She can see all of the dots, but instead of connecting the ones that are closest together, she like connects the two that are furthest apart and then connects them all together. And every character does this because this is the prison that they're in. You cannot always tell what keeps you confined. And they're literal children at boarding school with no adults. Of course they're getting groomed. YouTube comment section. One of my favorite comments in the YouTube comment section is this one. So the end of the world means the edge or the limit of the world that you're living in. Akio is the Prince Charming, person you love, depend on. He is Anthe's entire world. And in other words, he is the boundary of Anthe's world. So when Utena said she would set her free, her world begins to crumble. It really is tough to leave an abusive relationship. Utena loves Anthe, and that gives Anthe a world outside of Akio, and she's able to leave. Utena has revolutionized Anthe's world. She revolutionized the world. Not just in a literal revolution, but like in a revolt, like a spiritual revolution. Like a new cycle starts and Anthe's world has changed. It's not just we're in the same place, we're doing the same duel, we're going to the same, we're trying to get the power of eternity to revolutionize the world. Prince Castle, we're not doing this. We're not confined to societal expectations of gender norms. We're our own gender norm. You cannot always tell what keeps you confined. Princehood, gender roles, the abuse that you cannot comprehend. Not just that you can't accept, but that you can't even articulate. And you feel those elusive bars, railings, walls. Is this all illusion, imagination? Is it all just in my head, these constructs? Am I going crazy? I don't think so. I think there's maybe some validity to what you're feeling. Don't let yourself be gaslit. And then one asks, my God, will it be long? Will it be forever? Will it be for eternity? Eternity in both this letter to Theo and in Revolutionary Girl Utena are two terrifying things. In Utena, the power of eternity, seeing something eternal, it can give you hope. Utena asks in her coffin next to her parents' grave, I can't stand that life is impermanent. Show me something eternal. And she's shown pain. And in this letter to Theo, it's the same thing. It's this insanity that I'm suffering, this misery, this consuming mental state that I'm in. Is this gonna be what I always am? In this letter to Theo, he's saying, I'm broke and I'm destitute and I have to rely on you for support. This prison that I'm in, this misery that I'm in, I'm saved because we're brothers. By the end of the story, the cycle has begun again, as it always does. The world has begun its new revolution, but all of these characters have changed. It's a little different this time because Utena was there and because she loved them and because they learned to love other people with her. Without these, one stays dead, but wherever affection is revived, their life revives. From the smallest side character to Utena bringing Anthe out of that coffin at the end of the show, it is affection that revives. More people need to watch Revolutionary Girl Utena. It's really fucked up, but all toxic Yuri is fucked up. Happy Urimus from afar. I miss you all. I love you deeply. And that's what makes the prison disappear. And being gay also makes the prison disappear. So keep being gay, gamers.